Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody can hear my voice and see the presentation on the screen. Excellent. So today some of us are joining the class fresh for the new session, right? So before I start the session for today, just a brief introduction. My name is Satyanarayan. I am the faculty in charge for English and reasoning, and for those who will be taking law, legal aptitude is also a subject which I will be covering. So we will be having these sessions on Sundays, where you will have the first session from 8 to 9:30, and the second session you will be having from 9:30 to 11. I'll be sending the Zoom ID and password just a few minutes before the start of the class. The session details will be sent on the previous night. You must have already got today's schedule by yesterday night. So on Zoom, you will be seeing the presentation on the screen and hearing my voice. And if you have any doubts, then there's a chat option in Zoom available where you can type in the doubt and I'll be responding to it. So in case you have any doubt, you want to ask any questions during the session related to whatever is being taught, you can always type in the Zoom chat and I'll be responding to that. So that is pretty much the first introduction that I wanted to give for the newcomers. Without further ado, let us now start with today's session, which is on idioms and phrases. So idioms and phrases is a very important part of any language, especially when it comes to English. We use idioms and phrases whenever we talk. And the reason why idioms and phrases are used is because they make language more interesting, they make the expressions more colorful, and it becomes easier to understand certain concepts by just hearing the idiom, right? So idioms and phrases often are the same across languages, right? Sometimes they are language specific. For your convenience, idioms and phrases are put in one of the IQ material. There's an exclusive book for idioms and phrases. So after the class is over today on idioms and phrases, I do expect everybody to take a look at the book and try to learn at least 5 to 10 new idioms and phrases every day, right? It's only by repeatedly looking at these phrases, learning how to use them in sentences, that you will be able to memorize them. So yes, Swayam asks, can idioms come in CLAT? Absolutely. It's only because the topics are asked in the exams that you are taking this. We won't be taking topics which won't come in the exams. For example, I will never teach you something like nuclear physics because nuclear physics is not going to come in any of the exams. So obviously every topic which I'm teaching will come. Now, many a times they are directly asked, you will be given an idiom and phrase, and you just have to identify the meaning. But other than that, if you have something like a reading comprehension, idioms and phrases are often used in reading comprehension. So if you don't know the meaning of the idiom and phrase, you will not be able to understand the meaning of the passage. So idioms and phrases are important not only for their direct questions, but also because they are useful in other subjects, right? Other topics, especially like reading comprehension. So without further ado, let's start our look at idioms and phrases. What I'll be doing is I'll be putting up an idiom on the screen along with options A, B, C, D, E. The options will be given to you, and from the given options, you have to select the one which is closest in meaning to the given idiom or the given phrase. And then we will see what is the correct answer and how it is used in a sentence, right? So it's pretty much going to be a simple session where you will be understanding various idioms and phrases and how they are used in sentences. For English vocabulary, the best way to learn is not just to memorize it or rattomar, but to actually understand how it is used. Because when you see a word or an idiom being used in a particular sentence, it becomes more meaningful and it is easier to retain in memory for a longer period of time. So having said that, let's start. The first idiom and phrase, it's used in the sentence. So from the options, you just need to select which can be the best possible answer. The sentence says, Sobraj could be easily arrested because the police were tipped off in advance. So the words tipped off, which is the idiom in the sentence, has been underlined, has been highlighted. So you need to identify from the given options, what does tipped off mean? So we see the word tip, right? We hear the word tip and we think of we giving a tip to a waiter, right? When we give money to a waiter for their service, we think that is tipping them. That is fine. But to give a tip does not only mean to give money. To give a tip also means to give a piece of information, right? Now look at the sentence. If the police were informed in advance, then they could easily arrest somebody, right? Why would bribing the police in advance help in the arrest of a person, right? So here, tipped off actually means to be given advanced information. So the word tipped off here means to be given advance information. So although many of you think that tipped off means bribe, that is not the usage of the word tipped off. When we say tipped off, we do not mean that a bribe is given. We mean that information is given to the person in advance, beforehand. For example, give me special tips for the exam. It does not mean I'm going to give you a bribe for the exam. It means I'm going to give you specific helpful pointers for the exam, right? So tipped off means given advance information. Did everybody understand this? To be tipped off means to be given information in advance. Okay. Next one. I met him after a long time, but he gave me the cold shoulder. I met him after a long time, but he gave me the cold shoulder. Now, obviously, some of you have heard of the new fashion trend a couple of years back, right? Cold shoulder dresses, where the shoulder region of the dresses were cut off, and that apparently is a trend. Wearing clothes that have holes in them. There is no, fashion का तो कोई हिसाब ही नहीं है. But in English, what does that phrase cold shoulder mean? To give somebody the cold shoulder. When you ignore somebody, right? When you don't give attention to somebody, when you don't pay attention to somebody, when you ignore somebody, that is to give the cold shoulder to somebody. So you meet a person, but he gives you the cold shoulder. So when you meet a person, you generally expect that person to be to acknowledge you, to be friendly with you, to talk with you, to interact with you. The word but here shows that something opposite happened. So if you are meeting a person after a long time, what is the worst or the opposite thing that the person can do? The person can ignore you. So to give somebody the cold shoulder means to ignore you, right? When somebody does not give you attention, then that means being given the cold shoulder. Next, he passed himself off as a noble man. He passed himself off as a noble man. To pass oneself off, what does that mean? Now, if you take a look at was regarded as, was thought to be, was looked upon, options A, C and D, they are the actions done by somebody else. Somebody else will regard him. Somebody else will think he is. Somebody else will look upon him. But here, look at the expression. It says he passed himself off. Right? You don't regard yourself, think of yourself or look upon yourself. You pass yourself off as somebody means you act as if. That means you pretend as if. You are not in reality a nobleman, but you pretend, you act as if a nobleman. So when a person is not in reality a policeman, but he imitates, he acts like a policeman, then we say he passed himself off like a policeman, which means in reality he is not, but he acts, he pretends as if he is. So to pass yourself off means to pretend or to act as if you are that. Did everybody understand this one? To pass yourself off means to act as if you are something. Right? Did everybody understand? To pass yourself off, what it means? Okay. This matter has been hanging fire for the last many months and must therefore be decided one way or the other. This matter has been hanging fire for the last many months and must be therefore decided one way or the other. Now, hanging fire, what does this phrase mean? Right? Now remember, it is possible that from the options, more than one answer makes sense. But in idioms and phrases, we don't have to just go with the option which makes sense. We also have to go with the option which is the actual usage. For example, in local languages like Hindi or Gujarati, you might have a very specific meaning for a particular idiom or phrase, right? So that even though other option may seem sensible, but the actual usage of that idiom will be very specific and defined. So even if more than one option seems correct, you will have to know the exact meaning from the given options. So it says that the matter must be decided one way or the other, which means till now the matter is not yet decided. So the expression hanging fire, right, means it is going on slowly. Something is hanging fire means something is going on very slowly. Now, being hotly debated or stuck up also makes sense, right? This matter has been stuck up, so it must be decided, or this matter has been hotly debated, it must be decided. These expressions do make sense, but what is the actual meaning of the idiom hanging fire as defined in English? That is, the matter is going on slowly. So although B and C seem to make sense, they are not the answer. When we use hanging fire, we mean the matter is going on but very slowly. Did you understand? You have to use the meaning as it is used in regular English. Chalo. In the armed forces, it is considered a great privilege to die in harness. In armed forces, it is considered a great privilege to die in harness. A harness is on a horse. When you sit on a horse, right? The equipment which is there on a horse to sit on it and ride it is called a harness. Harness, right? Harness is actually the name of the equipment which is used to ride a horse. But just because the word harness is used, it does not mean the expression has anything to do with horse. Right? So, to die in harness simply means to die when you are still working. Like the former president of India, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, died in harness. He was still working, right? He was actually giving a speech somewhere when he collapsed and then passed away. So when you are still working, when you die, when you are not retired, you are still active in work. And in work, while you are working, not retired, you die. That is to die in harness. Sometimes they also use the expression to die with one's boots on, right? To die with one's boots on. So boot actually signifies work. To hang up your boots means to retire. So when you are wearing your boots, it means you are working. When you hang up your boots, it means you are retired. So die with your boots on also means to die when you are working. So to die in harness literally means to die when you are still working. You are not retired, you are still active and you die. So option C is my answer here. Correct? I hope everybody understood this one. Option C, to die in harness, means to die while still working. Okay. The cricket match proved to be a big draw. A big draw. The IPL is usually a big draw. The IPL is a big draw. The latest cricket match held at the Motera Stadium was a huge draw, was a big draw. So what do you mean by a big draw? Now I know, big draw. The word draw in sports usually means there's a tie or there is no result. Right? In cricket or in any sport, when you say draw, it means there's a tie, there is no result. But the expression big draw here is taken from to draw towards, right? To draw towards or to attract. So when we say something is a big draw, we mean that it draws people towards itself. It attracts people towards itself. So to be a big draw means to be a huge attraction. So the IPL is a huge attraction. A lot of people want to go to see it. The cricket match which was held at Motera, a lot of people went to the stadium, right? Despite all the current situation in the world, people still want to go in public and break the rules of social distancing, whatever. But the point is, a big draw, the expression means being a huge attraction. Now, when he heard that he had once again not been selected, he lost heart. When he heard that he had once again not been selected, he lost heart. When you hear the news that you are not selected, what is the first emotion that you feel? You are working very hard, right? You are preparing hard for an entrance exam. You give the exam, but when the result comes, you get to know that you have not been selected, right? Even after a lot of hard work, when you are not selected, do you feel like going ahead? Even after a lot of hard work, when you don't see any result, you don't feel like going ahead, right? When you have heart, means you are ready to continue. But when you lose heart, it means you are no longer motivated to do something. So you become discouraged. To lose heart means to be discouraged, right? To become sad is not to lose heart. To lose heart means you no longer have the motivation to do something, right? You no longer have the motivation to do something. You feel that सब बेकार था, करने का कोई फायदा ही नहीं है. So to feel discouraged. Got that? To lose heart is to feel discouraged. He was undecided. He let the grass grow under his feet. Right? Now this comes from the expression that when you are doing useful things, you don't let the grass grow. Right? If you have a lawn, if there is a garden and you are maintaining the garden, then the grass is well maintained. So, when the grass is not allowed to grow under your feet, what does it mean? To let the grass grow under his feet means what? So, to let the grass grow under his feet means not take any action. Not take any action. Right? If you are active and you do things, that means you are not letting the grass grow under your feet. But if you are undecided, right, you don't take any action, that means the grass will grow under your feet. So, to sit unmoving, to not do, to stay out or move away also means some action. If you move away, that means you have decided not to remain there. If you stay out, it means you have decided not to participate. But here it says he was undecided. So he did not do this, he did not do that. He took no action at all. So to let the grass grow under your feet is to sit unmoving. right? Not take any decision at all, to be undecided. Okay. Although he has failed in the written exam, he is using backstair influence to get the job. This is something I think a lot of us are aware about, right? In fact, we use it backdoor entry many a times. So, he failed in the exam, but he's still using backstair influence to get the job. So, what is backstair's influence? Olkhan. Right? Many a times we are under the impression that if we do not get a seat on merit, we can still try to get admission somewhere by using Olkhan influence. So backstair's influence is secret and unfair influence. Setting, yeah, Teeth. That's what we call it in our Desi Bhasha, right? Setting che, apadi to setting che. So the unfair and secret influence, you don't deserve it, but still you try to get advantage somewhere. So secret and unfair influence is backstair's influence. Okay. Companies producing goods play to the gallery to boost their sales. Companies producing goods play to the gallery to boost their sales. Right? Or movie makers often play to the gallery. Movie makers often play to the gallery. So to play to the gallery means what? Gallery actually means audience. Gallery means audience. So to play to the gallery actually means whatever majority likes, you do that. You don't necessarily do that which is correct, that which is right, or that which is proper. But you do whatever the majority is going to like, right? For example, if I want to make a real life, I want to make the story on the real life of a person, then it may be boring. The life of the person may be boring. And if I make that movie, it may not be a big hit with the people, right? Majority of the people, they want masala. So I create a movie in which I show all masala because majority of the people like it, right? The population likes it. It is popular. So when you're playing to the gallery, it means you're trying to appeal to the popular taste. Whatever is liked most by the people, you're trying to give them that. You're trying to appeal to the popular taste, whatever is liked the most. Right? So attempting to appeal to popular taste is to play to the gallery. Do you get it? Option B and similar. Now, to cater to public taste is to give whatever the public's taste is. While play to the gallery is actually just trying to do whatever is popular, right? Now, public's taste can be different. The entire public cannot have the same taste. So, playing to the galleries, you're only trying to do what is popular. Whether you are successful or not, that only time will decide. But you're attempting to do whatever is most liked by the people. So, C is better than B, right? C is better than B. Krish? C is better than B in that sense. Okay. Moving on. Since he knew what would happen, he should be left to stew in his own juice. Right? You tell somebody that this is going to happen and he does not listen to you. Without listening to your advice, that person goes ahead and does it. So then what would you say? For example, many a times the mother says, don't do this. You will not like it. But still you do it. So then when you do it and you suffer, your mother says, मैंने बोला था ना, now stew in your own juice. So to stew in own juice is when you have done something and there is a negative consequence, then you are suffering for your own act. Right? Because you did it. Now you will suffer. अपने काम के लिए भुगतना. right? When somebody says, don't touch this, it is hot, don't touch this, it is hot, you still go ahead and touch it, then the person who gave you that advice will not be sympathetic to you. The person who gave you that advice will say, मैंने तो कहा था, फिर भी तू मेरी बात को नहीं माना, तो अब भुगतो. So, D, to suffer for your own act, is to stew in your own juice, right? To suffer the consequences for whatever you did on your own. The project did not appear to hold out bright prospects. To hold out bright prospects. The project does not appear to hold out bright prospects, so we will not go ahead with it. This project does not appear to hold out bright prospects, so as an investor, I have decided not to go with it. So, as an investor, what would I need the project to give me? I will need the project to offer me something, right? If the project does not offer bright prospects to me, then I will not go ahead with it, right? So, to hold out bright prospects literally means to offer bright prospects. C is my answer. To promise, now, promise is sensible. Anmol, like I said before, promise also can be used. The project did not appear to promise bright prospects, but idiomatically speaking, to hold out means to offer, right? To make an offer. That is literally the meaning of to hold out brighter prospects. So in idioms, because there is a very specific usage, right? So to highlight means to emphasize. Highlight means to emphasize, not to give. To highlight something, right? I tell that this is important, means I highlight it, but I give you something, so I'm holding out. So highlight means to show the importance of something. That is not holding out, right? Anmol, yes, you will need to know the exact meaning of the phrases. You will need to know the exact meaning of the phrases. See, 9 out of 10 phrases you will be able to guess. But there will be 10% of phrases where the exact meaning has to be used from the given passages. Now between B and C, to show something, I can show, I write something on the board and I show that this is what I've written. I'm only showing you, I'm not giving it to you. You can see it, but you cannot have it. To offer means I'm letting you have it. I can show you my house, but you're not going to buy it. But if I offer you my house, that means you can own it. So that's the difference between show and offer, right? Show and offer ka difference kya thi? I hope you understood that. If I'm showing you my house, I'm only letting you see it. But if I'm offering you my house, I'm letting you have the opportunity to buy it. Okay. To hold on to something, Prasanna, to hold on to something obviously means to not let it go. Hold on to this piece of advice means stick to this piece of advice. Don't let this piece of advice go. You must always hold on to advice given by your parents. Means you should always keep it. You should not let it go. Right? To hold on to something. Okay. Hold up. What is the hold up? Why are you not doing this work? Why is this work not being completed? So hold up means a delay. A delay in something is also a hold up. I can't understand what is the hold up. Finish this work on time. So hold up means a delay in something. Right? Hold up means a delay in something. Now, I'm afraid he's burning the candle at both ends and ruining his life. I'm afraid he's burning the candle at both ends and ruining his life. Now, to burn the candle at both ends, normally, if you burn a candle in one side, it may last for 1 hour. Let's assume that a candle, if it burns from one side, it will burn for 1 hour. Now, if you light a candle from both the sides, lighting a candle from both the sides is not going to give you more light, right? Light from one candle or two candle, it's not going to make much of a difference. But the candle will get over in half an hour, right? It will not give you much benefit, but it will get over very quickly. So uselessly you are wasting the candle. So to burn candle at both the ends means literally to spend your energy more than what is necessary. So that is overtaxing his energies. To burn the candle at both ends means when you are not resting, when you are not using your energy wisely, when you are spending too much of energy, right? You are spending too much of energy, you are not resting, which means you will burn out. You will burn out. So burning the candles at both ends literally means to overtax the energy. Sure. The university will have to shelve its plans for expansion in view of present situation. Because of the pandemic, many people have shelved their plans of going on vacations. Due to the upcoming exams, I have to shelve my idea of holding a party for my friends. So when you are shelving something, you are shelving a plan. Shelf means what? Place to store. So when you are putting something on a shelf, you are not cancelling it, but you are actually keeping it so that you can do it later, right? When you are shelving something, it means you are storing something so that it can be used later. So when you are shelving a plan, it means you are postponing the plan. To shelving a plan means postponing a plan. Swayam, you are asking, okay, I'm going back to the previous slide. Swayam is asking a question. Swayam, burning a candle at both ends does not mean two candles को जलाना. It means एक ही candle को दोनों side से जलाना. Here it is a single candle, but it is lit from top and bottom. It is not two candles. It is burning the same candle from both the sides. That means uselessly burning a candle, wasting it. Do you understand it? Which one, Swayam? Two candles burning at... I doubt there is an idiom like that. Burning two candles at the same time, I doubt there is an idiom like that. Okay. To shelve something obviously means to postpone something. To shelve something means to postpone something. Okay. Do not trust a man who blows his own trumpet. Now, even if in our own language we have apni dhol khud bajana, right? Apni dhol khud bajana. So, to blow your own trumpet, obviously, the word own gives you a clear idea of what it should mean. To blow your own trumpet means to praise yourself. Right? This one is pretty obvious. To blow your own trumpet means to praise yourself. Next. He is out and out a reactionary. Out and out. For example, he's out and out a Modi supporter, or he's out and out a communist. He's out and out a supporter of the Congress party. He can never see the mistakes committed by them. So to be out and out something means throughout. Out and out means totally or thoroughly. To be an out and out supporter means to be a total supporter. In favor of is very mild, but out and out means completely. So here out and out means thoroughly. Out and out means thoroughly. Now Didi, you need to rename yourself. Complete name is required there. You can't just put initials. You need to put your complete name, right? Please rename yourself. To be out and out a reactionary. To be out and out something is to be thoroughly something. Okay. The case was held over due to great opposition to it. Very similar to one of the previous phrases and idioms that we have seen, right? If there is opposition to a case, what happens? You can't dismiss a case because it is opposed. You can't dismiss a case because it is opposed. But what can be done if people are opposing something? What can be done? So, if there is great opposition to a case, you can't stop it, drop it, or cancel it. They basically mean the same thing, right? But you do have the option of not doing it now. When everything calms down, you can do it. So, to be held over, right, is basically to just pause it or postpone it. Don't do it now, do it later. When things calm down, you can do it. So, when there is great opposition to a case, you cannot cancel it, stop it, or drop it, but you can postpone it. So, best option B. To be held over means to be postponed. In the organized society of today, no individual or nation can plow a lonely furrow. The word lonely is a clear hint of what your answer should be. To plow a lonely furrow. Now, lonely tells you that yes, it means being single, being solo, without others. Plow. Now, to plow means to dig in a khet, in a field, right? Hal chalana. To plow is basically to drive or use a plow, the implement which is used in farming. So, to plow is actually to do some work. It's not just surviving, but actually doing work. So, between B and C, my better option is B. Plowing is not just surviving, but it is actually doing something. So, to plow a furrow is to do a work. Plow a lonely furrow is to do the work without the help of others. So, B should be my answer, not C. Plowing a furrow is not about surviving, it's about doing work. So, plowing a lonely furrow is doing work but without the help of others. Right? So, C cannot be my answer. My answer has to be B. You get that? C cannot be the answer. The answer has to be B. Chalo. It was he who put a spoke in my wheel. Right? If you are driving a two-wheeler, a cycle, and somebody puts a spoke is like a stick, right? You are driving a two-wheeler and somebody tries to put a stick in the wheel. What are they trying to do? Right? It was he who put a spoke in my wheel. So, to put a spoke in the wheel is not to cause an accident, right? Because when a spoke is put in the wheel may stop, but it may also slow down. It may not necessarily only stop, right? It may stop or it may just slow down. So what they're trying to do is do anything to prevent you from doing some activity. So putting a spoke in the wheel is actually making an attempt to slow you down. So thwart is to prevent. So thwarting the execution of the plan. To put a spoke in the wheel. They are not trying to they're trying to destroy it, right? But it is not destroying, it's only trying to do so. So they're actually trying to prevent you from carrying out the plan, right? So thwarting or preventing the execution of the plan is the exact meaning of putting a spoke in the wheel. To put a spoke in the wheel means to try to stop the execution in the plan, to impede. Yes, Uvesh, that's right. So, to put a spoke in the wheel is to try and thwart the execution of the plan, to try and prevent the plan from being carried out. You get that? So C is the best meaning of the given of the given idiom. The best is thwart in the execution of the plan. Okay. It is no longer easy to strike gold in Shakespeare's research since much work has already been done on him. To strike gold. To strike gold. Now, to strike oil or to strike gold means to find oil or find gold. But the idiom to strike gold and gold and oil, these are generally valuable things. So it has nothing to do with the word or the object of gold. It simply means something valuable. So to strike gold in Shakespeare's research, you cannot find gold, or you're not searching for the word gold. You're actually just trying to find something important, something valuable. So to strike gold literally means to find something valuable in Shakespeare's research. So to strike gold is to find something which is valuable. When I was reading the works of Shakespeare, I struck gold. It literally means I came across something which was very important, something which was very valuable. Got that? Okay. Sanjay is very different. Sorry, it's not different. It's very diffident. It's not different, it's diffident. Sanjay is very diffident about passing the civil services examination this year. Sanjay is very diffident about passing the civil examination this year. So, diffident is the opposite of confident. Right? Confident, diffident. They are the opposites. They are antonyms for each other. So, to be diffident about something means to not be confident about something. So, to be diffident means to lack confidence. Right? Diffident, confident. They literally are antonyms for each other. So, when you are sure about something, you are confident. But when you are not confident about something, then you are diffident. Khyati. Previous one, okay? I'm just going back to the previous one. I'm confused between A and D. Okay, to strike gold, to hit a golden spot. A golden spot means a very nice area, literally a physical place which is very nice. A golden spot means a very important place or a very important area. Now, Shakespeare's work, written work, you won't find a physical place there. You will find information in Shakespeare's work. So A cannot be my answer in this one, Khyati. Did you get this? To hit a golden spot is something which is very important in a physical sense. But in Shakespeare's works, you won't find anything physical. You will find information in Shakespeare's works. So A cannot be my answer in this one. I hope that solves the confusion. Yes, Khyati? Chalo. We already seen this one. Next. Dowry is a burning question of the day. What is a burning question? Burning question of the day. What does it mean? When will the pandemic end is the burning question. Who is responsible for who will win the Bengal elections is the burning question. So, burning question is a widely debated issue, right? Something which is very hotly contested, something which is discussed very, very hotly. So, a widely debated issue is a burning question of the day, right? Did everybody understand this? Burning question of the day. Now, a polemic is generally an attack on something, right? Polemical is similar, but it's an attack. Now, why not C? C is a relevant problem. Burning question does not mean relevant problem. Burning question means something which is very hotly debated, जिस पे बहुत सारा आर्ग्यूमेंट हो रहा है, right? Idiomatically speaking, burning question, hot topic, something which is debated. Burning question is also, there's another idiom, we say this is the hot topic. So a hot topic does not mean a relevant problem. A hot topic means something on which there's a lot of debate happening. Like all the evening news channels, programs, they always say today's burning question. So they are not talking about relevant problems. They are talking about something which is just debated a lot. Important or not, we don't know. But there is a lot of hot argument going on. So burning question literally means something which is widely debated. Right? So relevant problem C cannot be your answer there. Okay. The popularity of yesterday's superstar is on the wane. Right? Waxing and waning of the moon. When the moon's size increases, waxing. When it decreases, waning. So, to be on the wane means literally to start reducing. On the wane means it is an ongoing process. So, yesterday's superstar means old star, not current, not recent, old. So, yesterday's superstar means an old superstar. So if they are old not in age, but as in gaya hua, who are not current, who are not modern. So their popularity will be decreasing. So it is not at a peak or at the bottom, but it is slowly reducing. So when you say something is waning, it means it is reducing in intensity. So when popularity is waning, it means it is growing less. Swam. Rock bottom means it is already at the bottom. It is already bottom. It has reached the bottom. Waning means it is going towards the bottom. So B definitely cannot be the answer. Right? For something to go down versus something to already be at the bottom. Right? See, 100 people liked the actor. Then 90 people liked him. Then only 80 people liked him. Then only 60 people like him. That is waning. That is going down step by step. But if already 0 people like him, 0 se niche kuch nahi ho sakta, that is rock bottom. So when we are saying something is waning, it means it is going down less by, it is going down. It has not reached the bottom, but it is reducing. So when till last week or till last month, the number of corona patients was waning, but now it has started increasing. So when we say waning, it means going down, reducing. Till last month, number of patients was going down, but now suddenly it has increased. So waning means growing less. Got that, Yajat? Right. Chalo. Moving on then. He is leaving the country for good. He is leaving the country for good. Very interesting. Here, if you don't know the meaning, you will end up marking the wrong answer. I have given up smoking for good. He decided to leave drinking for good. Here the word good has nothing to do with good, bad wala good. Good for good means hamesha ke liye, forever. So when you say he is leaving the country for good, it means he is leaving the country forever, he is never going to return. For good literally means to do something forever. It does not mean for better prospects, for the good of others, for good cause. No. Here, good does not have anything to do with good, bad, wala good. To do something for good means to do something forever. That's what this one means. I'm sure you must have heard of this phrase, but we messed up. We messed up this one. Did everybody understand it? To do something for good actually means to do something forever. Right. Chal. He's an interesting speaker, but he tends to go off at a tangent. To go off at a tangent. Have you guys seen the web series Money Heist? Have you guys seen the web series Money Heist? I love watching Money Heist, right? I also love watching a lot of other web series. For example, Hotstar has a lot of good web series, and even Amazon Prime has a lot of web series. And you must be thinking that I was talking about idioms and phrases. Why am I going off at a tangent? We were discussing idioms and phrases, and suddenly I started talking about web series. What I did was I went off at a tangent. So to go off at a tangent means to change the subject. Okay, boisterous means somebody who is very enthusiastic. Yay, chalo, karte. You generally have that one person in the group, right? You'd say, guys, shall we do, can we have a party? Or एक बंदा एकदम enthu कटलेट होगा. हाँ, चलो, party करते. So one who is very excited, one who is very loud, full of life, that is a boisterous person, right? That is boisterous. Do you understand? Boisterous. Something who is very, जिसको हम अपनी भाषा में enthu कटलेट बोलते हैं. Someone who is very, very enthusiastic about things and very loud and expressive about it. For example, some people after consuming alcohol, they become very boisterous, right? They become very enthusiastic and loud. So boisterous, very expressive, very, very loud, very exciting. But to go off, so did you get it? To go off at a tangent. Okay. Kush, by that tip, suggest is, do you want me to suggest a series to watch? Is that what you're asking me, Kush? You're asking for a series to watch? Okay. Believe it or not, I do have a recommendation. If you have access to YouTube, there is a 10-episode serial called Samvidhan. It was originally aired on Rajya Sabha TV. It is anchored by Swara Bhaskar. It's a 10-episode series. Go watch Samvidhan. And I'm not kidding. If you are watching Samvidhan, your parents, if they see Samvidhan, they will love you more for watching it. Right? Especially for those who are law aspirants. Not joking, Samvidhan is a brilliant web series. Some of you might have already seen it. It's a 10-episode thing. It's about the formation of Constitution of India. So yes, series are not always just for fun. Sometimes they can be informative also. Anyway. Chalo. He sold his house for a song. Right? Last year, because of the pandemic, many businesses had to sell off assets at a song just for survival. Many businesses had to sell their assets at a song for survival. So, for survive, when you are selling things, it is not reasonable or discount, but very cheap. Right? When you are forced to sell off things because you have to survive, it's not a discount or reasonable price, definitely not a premium. It's actually selling off things very cheaply, much below the actual rate. So, very cheap, right? A discount still can earn you a profit, but to sell something for a song means to actually sell it off very cheaply. So C is the best answer here. Prasanna, how is it related to song? No, it's not related to singing. It's just an expression, right? When we say khoda pahad nikla chuha, we are not actually going to dig something and get a rodent out of it. It's an expression, right? right? That is what idioms and phrases are. They are colorful expressions, may not have anything to do with the literal word in it. When you say I'm feeling blue, right? The word blue is often used for depression. But does that mean when you are depressed, the color blue somehow appears? No. Or when you see red, when you are very angry, we say we see red. What has red to do with anger? Right? He was in a black mood. Right? Mood का कोई color नहीं होता है. But when we say black mood, it means a very angry or very dark mood. So these are just expressions. They may not have literal translated meanings for them. Yes, to face the music, exactly. To face the music does not literally mean कि कोई आपके सामने कोई म्यूजिक बजाने वाला है. Face the music literally means to face the consequences. Correct. चलो. Now, but interestingly, there is actually a relationship for a song if you know a little bit of history. In ancient times, when kings and were the patron of arts, many people used to compose songs, right? So the composers, when they used to compose and sell the songs, nobody used to pay much money, right? Even today, songwriters don't get paid much. Although people who own the song will be earning a lot of money, but the songwriter who sells the product is never paid. So in a way, yes, there is a connection with a song, although not a direct one. It has to do with historical significance. So right, because the person who created the song never got paid much for it. So to sell for a song literally means to be paid very cheaply. That's the history behind it, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Despite the trust bestowed on the minister, he turned out to be a snake in the grass during the revolution. To be a snake in the grass. To be a snake in the grass. So, to be a snake in the grass literally comes from the Bible, right? If you know the story of Adam and Eve, the snake tricked Eve into eating the forbidden fruit. The snake tricked Eve into eating the forbidden fruit. If you know your mythology, right? Especially Nordic mythology, Norse mythology, Loki is often described as a snake in the grass. So a snake in the grass is a person whom you cannot trust, a person who will actually betray you. So a treacherous person. A snake in the grass is actually a treacherous person, a person who is a cheat, a person who can trick you, a person जो आपको दगा दे सकता है, right? So a treacherous person is a snake in the grass, a person who is hidden and who will cheat you or who will do something bad for you. So better than secret enemy, it's actually a treacherous person, right? An enemy is not necessarily a person who is secretive, right? Enemy to enemy is a dushman who is against you. But a person who pretends to be your friend but then cheats you or does something wrong to you is a snake in the grass. Enemy is directly against you. But a person who pretends to be something but then does something wrong to you is a treacherous person. And hence B. Right? Okay. Now, Shrut, why not C? A snake in the grass is not a danger. It is actually a person. Snake in the grass is used to describe a person and not a situation. We use this to describe a person. The minister turned out to be a snake in the grass, right? A snake in the grass actually refers to a person, not just a situation. So C is not the answer in this case. Got that, Shrut? A snake in the grass is actually used to describe a person, not just a situation. So B. Okay. Women should be paid the same as men when they do the same job. For surely what is goose sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. Sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. The explanation is also there in the sentence itself. So this should be easy to understand. What is sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. What does it mean? So it has nothing to do with goose and gander, right? Goose is the female and gander is the male. It has nothing to do with equality. Sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander means what is suitable for a male is also suitable for a female, or rather whatever is suitable for the female is suitable for the male. What is good for one is good for the other in gender. So B and C, it has nothing to do with goose and gander per se, and it is not generally about equal treatment, right? It's about what is good for one is also should be for the other. So the best possible option here should be A, right? What is thought suitable pay for a man should also be for a woman. D is more general, whereas A is more specific to this expression. Sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. What is good for a man is good for a woman. It's not generally about equality, but a specific thing which is good for one gender is good for the other gender. And hence A is my answer. Chalo. The party stalwarts have advised the president to take it lying down for a while. To take something lying down. When you are being abused by a person who's much stronger than you, you don't have a choice but to take it lying down. Normally we say, if you see bullying taking place, you should never take it lying down. To take something lying, okay, stalwarts. Stalwarts means people who are very important, right? Stalwarts means people who are very important. Shruth, how can we differentiate between general and specific? See, some idiom का जो बहुत specific है, right? For example, in the previous question, sauce for the goose and gander. Goose and gander is opposite genders, male and female. D, it says equal treatment, but it does not take into consideration that this expression is for male and females. So D is not my answer. Equal treatment for whom? Right, this one does not say equal treatment for whom. This specific expression is equal treatment based on gender. So A is better than D. Right? Did you get that, Shruth? Okay. Stalwarts here means a person who is very important. For example, Amit Shah is a stalwart in the BJP. Arun Jaitley is a stalwart in the BJP. It does not mean star campaigner. It means a person who is very important. For example, Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Patel were some of the stalwarts in the Indian freedom struggle. Or Mangal Pandey was a stalwart. We don't say Mangal Pandey was a stalwart, but Amitabh Bachchan and Dharmendra are some of the stalwarts in the Indian film industry. So stalwart literally means a very important person, right? So to take something lying down means to show no reaction, right? Jo ho raha hai hone do. So we say we should not take abuse lying down. When somebody is abusing us, we must not show reaction. We must react. But when we don't react, we are taking it lying down. We are showing no reaction. So to take something lying down means to show no reaction. No, defense is also a reaction. Khushi, to be on the defensive means to protect yourself, right? When you are protecting yourself, you are doing some action. But to take something lying down means you don't react at all. You neither attack nor you defend. That is to take something lying down. So B is not my answer. It has to be D. Got that, Khushi? Okay. Now, this is easy. The thief took to his heels when he saw a policeman on the beat. The thief took to his heels when he saw the policeman on the beat. When a thief sees a policeman, what does he do? And what do you do? What is a heel? Heel is part of the foot, right? What do you do with your feet? If you're a thief and you see a policeman, what do you do with your feet? Simple, you run away. So, took to his heels literally means ran away. This, so logically also we can understand. To take to heels literally means to run away. He struck several bad patches before he made good. To strike several bad patches. MS Dhoni struck several bad patches before he became a successful batsman. Elon Musk struck several bad patches before he became famous as an entrepreneur. To strike several bad patches, right, is to have many professional difficulties, right? When you're having a bad time, that is single, but several bad patches, many things. So that is many professional difficulties. To strike bad patches is to go through trouble during a professional way. Bad patches is generally used for difficult times in the professional career. To strike several means to strike many bad patches is difficult times. So D has to be my answer in this. A bad time. A is singular, but several means many, so it cannot be B. B cannot be the answer because a bad time is singular, several bad patches is plural, right? So B cannot be my answer. So Prasanna, bad patch, it is used for, in personal life, he's going through a bad patch, right? It is not only professional, but usually used for it, right? It's definitely not A, B and C, right? You can use bad patch even for personal life, although it is not done much, right? And it is definitely not B, had a bad time, because several bad patches is plural. A bad time is singular. That does not match. So B cannot be my answer. It has obviously nothing to do with soil or illness. And hence D is the best option here. Sure. The accounts of the murder made her flesh creep. Chitri chade hai. Right, in Gujarati, if you understand Gujarati, sometimes they say chitri chade hai. Ghin ani. Not ghin actually, but when somebody tells you a horror story, what does it make you feel? You don't feel sad or surprised, you don't cry, but you're filled with horror, right? When somebody describes a very bad, horrible murder, that account makes your flesh creep, means you're filled with horror. So to make your my flesh crept when I saw the badly decomposed body of a dead animal. So you don't become sad or cry, but you feel horror, you feel revulsion, right? So something very, you feel something very bad when you see something horrible. So you are filled with horror. That is to make flesh creep. See, the word creep actually means to crawl, creep and crawl, rengna, right? The dog was creeping on the floor, means slowly they silently move ahead. The soldiers crept in the grass when they were approaching the enemy, right? When you go down, when you're lying on the ground and slowly you're moving forward. Literally, creep means that. Another meaning of creep, right? We also use the word creep to describe somebody we don't like, right? Ekdam, what a creepy person, right? Somebody whose behavior is something which you don't like, right? So that is also a creep. We also call a person a creep when his behavior is not good, right? If a person makes inappropriate remarks or passes lewd comments, that is also when you describe that person as a creep. But to make the flesh creep, It literally means you see, when you hear something horrible, you feel something on your skin. Your skin feels terrible. So it's an expression. Do you understand that? Khyati? Chal. How long will the people put up with the increasing economic hardships? How long will the people put up with the increasing economic hardships? How long will we have to put up with the lockdown? So to put up with something, what does it mean? To put up with something, right? Hardship means difficulty. Hardship means difficulty. So obviously you are not welcoming or taking it easily or being satisfied with it. What do you do when something is bad? What do you do? Right? You don't like difficulties, but when you don't have a choice, what do you do with it? The only thing you can do when you don't have a choice is you tolerate it. So to put up with something means to tolerate something. You don't have a choice, right? That means you have to put up with it. You have to tolerate it. Okay. The teacher warned the student once for all that no mischief shall be tolerated in the class. Once for all. I'm telling you once for all, remain quiet. If you don't, I'll throw you out of the class. So once for all. That's easy, right? Once for all means finally. This is the last time that I'm telling you. Next time you cannot do it. So once for all is what it means. Do you understand that? What is once for all? Okay. I hope it will not put you out if I'm late. Right? I'm put out by all the stupid dances on TikTok. I'm put out. It puts me out to see all the stupid memes on Instagram. To put out means what? To put me out. To put you out. Right? So for old people, TikTok puts us out. Memes put us out. So it does not harm us or worry us. It definitely does not please us. What happens is that we get irritated by it. So to put me out means to irritate me. So to put off, right? I'm put off by it is somewhat similar, right? But it also means the same thing. I'm put off. I don't like it, right? To get irritated and not like something. I was put off by my mood. So my mood went into a depressed state. Means I was put off by something. Do you get that? So here it is to irritate me. To put me out means to irritate me. To put you out, to irritate you. Okay. Oh, we have already seen this. Let's see who remembers it. ये तो हमने पक्का देखा था. Govind has left his country for good. For good. Yes. Forever. Right? It has nothing to do with good. Bad wala good. For good means forever. Okay. Sanjay was the real power behind the throne, and all politicians were aware of this. Many people believe Amit Shah is the real power behind the throne. The real power behind the throne. Right? हम किंग नहीं हैं, हम किंग मेकर बनना चाहते हैं. Right? It's good to be a king. It's better to be a king maker. Right? People think king is great. But what if you are the person who can make the king? That means the actual power is the person who can create a king. So the real power behind the throne is the person who has real control and power. It's not a person who controls a monarch. It has nothing to do with actual kings. It literally means the person who has the real power, right? If somebody says Amit Shah is the real king, power behind the throne, there is no king and queen, right? But the actual person who has power. So it is not the person who controls the monarch. It is the person who has real control and power. It has nothing to do with royalty. So A is my answer. It just means the person who has real control and power. Okay. His friends let him down. To let somebody down. You should never let down your parents. When I scored less in the exam, I felt as if I had let my parents down. To let down someone. So it's not to comfort, succeed, or to stand by. Let down. Down is always a negative thing, to go down. Up is for success, down is for failure. So to let somebody down, in the given options, best possible option has to be A. When I scored less marks in the exam, I felt I had let my parents down. It means I felt as if I had failed my parents. Right? उनके उम्मीदों पे खरा नहीं उतरा. I disappointed them. So to let somebody down means to fail. Okay. I felt like a fish out of water among all those business tycoons. What happens? How does a fish feel when there is no water? How does a fish feel when there is no water? A fish is only comfortable when there is water. When there is no water, the fish will definitely feel uncomfortable. So, when you are in an unfamiliar situation, right? When you are in an unfamiliar situation, you are not comfortable. You feel like a fish out of water. So to feel like a fish out of water literally means to feel very uncomfortable. Some people now wonder whether we just pay lip service or genuinely subscribe to democracy. Sometimes, when I don't like an elder, I'm forced to pay lip service. Many youngsters pay lip service to teachers whom they don't like. So, to pay lip service means to say something but not mean it with your heart. You are saying something but you don't mean it with your heart. You don't believe in it. So that means you only show outward respect. Right? You say okay as if you are respectful, but you are not genuinely respectful. So that is to pay lip service. To show only outward respect. To show as if you are respecting it, but you don't mean it. It's not from your heart. Right? To be cavalier, see, Prasanna, to be cavalier about something is to not care about something. If you are not very careful, you have a cavalier attitude. To have a cavalier attitude means not to care about something, carefree. It is not to lip service. To pay lip service is not having a cavalier attitude. Having a cavalier attitude simply means you don't care about it. Bindas. That is not lip service. Okay. Don't thrust your nose into my affairs. अपनी नाक को बीच में मत घुसाओ. It literally means that. Don't thrust your nose into my affairs. अपनी नाक को मेरे मामले में मत घुसाओ. So, thrust your nose does not mean just to advise or oppose or deal, but meddle. Okay, what is the meaning of the word meddle? Meddle is छेड़खानी करना. Don't meddle in my affairs. Means अपनी टांग बीच में मत अड़ाओ. To meddle with something is when you don't have the right but still you interfere. To meddle means to interfere. Right? So, अपनी नाक को दूसरों के काम में घुसाना is to meddle officiously. To interfere even when you don't have the right to do it. That is the meaning of to meddle. right? To interfere without permission is to meddle in something. Do you get that? To meddle in something is to interfere in something. Krish, Kathy? Okay. He visits the doctor off and on. Off and on. So, when you are very regular, right? When you are very regular, then it is regular. Off and on. It starts with off, right? Kabhi kabhi, but not occasionally. I mean, kabhi kabhi. So it literally means occasionally, not regularly. Off and on actually is used when you don't do something regularly, right? Kabhi kabhi karte ho. So off and on actually means occasionally. Do you get that? To do something off and on means to do something sometimes, occasionally, not regularly. Ovesh, erratically, sort of, not regularly, sometimes. Erratically, Prasanna, off and on means irregularly. It's actually the opposite of regularly. It's not regularly. प्रसन्ना, ऑफ और ऑन तो कुछ नहीं होता है, ऑफ एंड ऑन होता है. द वर्ड इन द कंजंक्शन इज एंड, नॉट और. ऑफ एंड ऑन मीन्स occasionally, not regularly. चलो. The recent film Secular India has tried to keep the pot of Muslims women's bill boiling. To keep the pot boiling means what? To keep the pot boiling. Yes, many of you are getting it right. So obviously, to keep the pot boiling is to keep the controversy alive, right? Correct. We have seen this one. To take to your heels, right? We have already seen this one. Take to your heels is to run off. Take to your heels is to run off. Okay, let's just do a couple of more and then take a break before we start the second session. Let's do a couple of more idioms and then we can take a break. This one is very commonly used. You cannot have your cake and eat it too. Or sometimes you say you cannot eat your cake and have it too. Right? मुझे केक खाना भी है और मेरे पास केक होना भी चाहिए. Right? I want to have full attendance in school, but I don't want to attend a single class. Right? So, either you can have one or you can have another. But you cannot do both. So, to have your cake and eat it too means to have it both ways. You cannot say I want 100% attendance and also I want maximum bunking. Both cannot happen. You can have one or the other. So to have your cake and eat it too is to have it both ways. You cannot do that. Last one before we take a break. The rebels held out for about a month. To hold out for something. The teacher tried to make the students write the exercise, but they held out. So to hold out is not to wait. Right? The teacher tried, the trainer tried to make me exercise, but I held out for about a month. The child tried to convince the mother to buy a cell phone, but the mother held out for a week. So it's not just to wait, but actually to actively resist. So to hold out means to actively resist, not agree to it. Right? To resist something, somebody's trying to make you do it and you are against it. You actively said no to it. So rebels, they resisted for about a month. So to hold out means to resist. To hold out means to resist. Right? Did everybody get this one? Right, guys. So the idioms and phrases, there's an entire book available, right, of idioms and phrases in vocabulary. Start looking up those idioms and phrases, and even 5 you do a day, you'll be able to remember a lot, but you will have to practice it regularly and you will have to use it, because if you just try to memorize it, right, without trying to understand the context, then it may not be easy to remember. But if you use it in a sentence properly, right, you understand the meaning and also use it in a sentence properly, then the exact meaning of these idioms and phrases will be in mind. Right? So Lavanya, if you have the hard copy, then that's good enough. I will try to send the soft copy as well, but the hard copy is good enough. If you have it, fine. If not, then yes, the material is the same. The material is the same. Right? So Shiv, about 5 to 10 phrases a day. Right? Considering that you will have a lot of days, even 5 a day is enough. So as far as idioms and phrases are concerned, even 5 a day is good enough. But after you complete, let us say about 15, right? Do for 5 days, then over the weekend, revise them. Don't keep on doing 5 new every day. After every Friday, 5 days, you should revise whatever you have done. Right? Okay. So guys, I'm taking a break, right? The ID will remain the same. We will be continuing on the same ID for the next session. It's 9:27 by my watch. We have about a 5-minute break. So about by 9:30 to 9:33, we will be back. We will continue with the same Zoom ID, right? And we will start with the next session. So a break for about 5 minutes.